when it comes to food storage, like I said in the beginning, I get a lot of, I see from time to time these articles about don't store this, or these people. There's a video on YouTube, and I'm not going to say who it is. If you just type in foods not to stockpile, you'll find that video, and it's a lady. She knows what she's talking about. But I don't think she's talking about it from a preparedness perspective as far as how we store food, how we extend those shelf lives. And I think this article right here, which this is off-grid news, so they should sort of take that prepper approach to everything. I don't think they do either, because I'm going to go through what the 7 they have on this list are. And I'm also going to add a couple more of my own that I just, purely to get your guys' thoughts on them, to give you my thoughts and all this stuff. But in this article, they never really say, what they say right here is it pays to be picky when it comes to what you store in your survival pantry shelves. So I don't know that they're talking about food storage necessarily, but it's kind of innocuous, survival pantry shelves. My survival pantry shelves are my long-term food storage. So at any rate, a couple of them that they have on here, and I'll go through these and read them. The first one is flour. This is, one of the staples, I think, in preparedness, but it says you can store all-purpose flour at room temperature for only about 6 to 8 months. After that period, flour can develop a particularly unpleasant smell. The flour weevils will hatch and grow. For better or long-term food storage, stock up on wheat instead, which is true, but if you're talking about flour in the bags, if you're talking about just flour the way you get it from the grocery store, sure, that's basically what its shelf life is going to be. But when you're talking about how we do things as preppers, or I do things anyway, when you're talking about putting it in Mylar bags, in 5-gallon buckets, gamma lids, all those different things, right? Oxygen absorbers, you're looking at 10, 15 years as long as it's sealed. Now, it really, it depends on how much you store, really depends on how much you use as well. But like with us, I used to store a lot more than we do now. And I still have quite a bit, because you just never know. You want that. It's useful for a bunch of different meal ideas in some sort of SHTF situation. But we don't eat as much flour as we used to, try to stay away from carbs and things like that. So we don't store as much. And when I do open one of those 5-gallon buckets, it gets packaged down. We've got, I've started to use 1-gallon buckets and 1-gallon Mylar bags to store some of that as well, because we're going down that much. Now with flour, it's not something that I'm too concerned about having to throw away 20 gallons or something like that in, I think probably 5-6 more years. I can't remember when I first, my first or the most recent batch that's going to expire is, I think it's like 5-6 years once it reaches that 15 year mark. And then I'll check it from there, and then we'll just kind of proceed forward. That's kind of how I do with all of the different things that I store. Get into the chat a little bit, see if anybody's got any comments before I move on to the next one. Emergencyprepping.com said brown rice isn't good for stockpiling because of the oils, it can go rancid. That is actually, speaking of that, next on my list. And I don't know a whole lot of brown rice, and because we don't store brown rice. We've got jasmine rice, we've got white rice, and we use that fairly regularly, a few times a month in our meals and stuff. So I do have those packaged I've got one 5-gallon bucket of it, and then I also have it packaged in smaller ones. But on this website right here, probably says the same thing as emergencyprepping.com just said, but the brown rice, with its naturally high oil content, brown rice stays fresh for less than 6 months in your pantry. For long-term storage, place white rice in airtight containers. Sort of like what I just said was the fact that we do use, let me get this on here. We don't store a lot of brown rice. We don't eat a lot of brown rice. Therefore, we don't store a lot of brown rice. But it is, I tend to agree with that one. Anyone else in the chat? I'm not sure that I'll get many people on that one. Chris said in the chat, Keystone meats have 5 years best by dates. And then I have 5 years after that. Yeah. I've got a can of Yoder's bacon that I believe is 10 years. I believe it's got one more year on it. So, I'm going to be doing a prepper breakfast basically. And I'm going to open that can. I'm going to get some eggs that I've got from the chickens, get some powdered milk. And, I've got some dehydrated hash browns from a can. We're going to use some of those and see if I can make a prepper breakfast. But yeah, Yoder's bacon's got quite a long shelf life. There's a lot of canned meats at the stores as well that you can get. But the next one here, I think, is pretty obvious. And this is saltine crackers. If you've ever, it's not even in law. I don't know that you can Mylar bag saltine crackers without making them into saltine crumbs. I don't know that I would even want to give that a shot. I know that, saltine crackers don't have a very long shelf life. And again, Mongo said 10-year-old Yoder's bacon will be just fine. Just tested one. Yeah. Also, I was just, I'll get back on saltines here in a minute, but on that Yoder stuff, I've got some comments in the past about how expensive that can is, or that, canned meats, Yoder's bacon and things like that. And I actually did some pricing, and regular bacon, it is more expensive than. Although the weight of it is cooked down, so it's like by measuring the weight of uncooked bacon to that is misleading. But it is less expensive than bacon that's raw. If you get that prepackaged bacon that's already cooked, it's got a really long shelf life. It is about the same price as one of those, or the quantity you would get, I believe, is like 4 of those. And it's about the same price as 1 can of Yoder's bacon. So just a side note there. Yes, it is more expensive than regular bacon, but it's not more expensive than the pre-cooked stuff. Anyway, let's see what Off-Grid Survival has to say about saltine crackers. I'm pretty sure we all sort of know this. If you've ever smelled saltines that have been stored for more than 6 months, you probably learned your lesson the hard way. I've had saltine crackers in there for a year and a half, 2 years. I've never smelled anything like that. A little bit, a lot stale. And once it gets that old, it's like, you know what? Never mind. But stale saltines can create quite a stench, they say. Rotate through your saltines every few months and store them in airtight containers with oxygen absorbers for best results. Again, saltines are one of those that I just don't. I don't eat enough of them to actually, store that many of them. And if I did store, say boxes and boxes, maybe 8 to 10 boxes, I'd end up just throwing them away. So it's something that I don't store a lot of. I will get 2 boxes and, sort of rotate through those. And even if I have to throw one away because it's been too long, maybe there's one sleeve still in there. Not a huge deal for me. So, Mongo. 1 year saltines in mason jars with O2 absorbers were fine. Very good. Okay, so the next one here we've got is, this is probably, a lot of these, now that I think about it, are sort of obvious to us preppers, but the average person, maybe somebody just getting into prepping, what I wanted to do was go through this to there's a little bit of nuance with all of these things. You've got articles that say this is the best by date, or you've got some preppers and websites that will say this stuff is going to last, 18 years. Don't worry about all that stuff and this and that. So it's really up to you what you do. If you're not comfortable sort of pushing the limits like a lot of us preppers do. Some of them, will go real far. Me, I'm sort of middle of the road. I'll push the limits, but not too far. And then there's some people that will just go by the expiration dates, and that's all there is to it. If that's you, that's, I suppose that's what you do. That's what you're comfortable doing. So my point is there's not one certain way of doing this. And just because somebody says this doesn't mean you can't do that. And that's basically everything with preparedness. But they do, a lot of these foods, other than the ones I'm talking about here, do last a whole lot longer than what these manufacturers will tell you. because they're in the business of selling more anyway, and there's health standards and all the FDA stuff. So it's better to be safe than sorry, I suppose, on their end. Whereas us as preppers, like I said, we tend to push those limits a little bit because we're trying to extend all those shelf lives. This one, and I'm curious if anybody's got any sort of tips on how they store some of this, especially people with children. I know cereal will last, quite a while in the first place. I'm sure if you stored this in, even just a 5-gallon bucket or some sort of bucket with oxygen absorbers, some sort of gamma lid, maybe not even a gamma lid, just a regular lid, something stored really tight. I'm sure you could probably get a couple good years out of it. But it is something, let me see what they say on the website here. And I purposely didn't read this because I wanted to read it as we go through this. For best taste, store cereals in airtight containers and rotate through them every 6 to 8 months. A better and usually a healthier long-term choice is to store rolled oats for your survival pantry. Yeah, that is very true. You can prepare hot breakfast cereals as well and other dishes with rolled oats. And then stored in dark, airtight containers with oxygen absorbers can last for years. So yeah, that's a very good point. Now with kids, like I mentioned earlier, the rolled oats probably not going to be a big hit, but at the same time, if something is long-term enough to where it becomes necessary for rolled oats, I think it's going to be, hey, either this or nothing, basically. But when you're talking about some sort of, scenarios that may last a week, something that's not really large scale, really dangerous, something that you just want to keep that normalcy with the family, having some of that stockpiled is a good idea. And cereal by itself is already got a long enough shelf life. And if you have children, you'll go through it pretty quickly anyway. So it's not a huge concern. But if you say you find a good deal or something like that, maybe you do figure out storage techniques and all that to kind of extend that shelf life a little bit, and then the rotation and all that. A couple comments before I get on to the next one. I got to read through them here. It's really tough on this. It's a lot easier the other way I usually do this, but Chris said, had some experience with Keystone Meats, great products. Emergencyprepping.com, Sailor Boy crackers are an excellent option for crackers. Brandon, lots of good snack bars that can lots of good snack bars that can be made at home with oats. Yeah, definitely. Well, especially with some of the fun gear that you have over there with the dehydrator and all the knowledge you have. That's what it's all about too, is the knowledge of how to take all of these different ingredients and different things and make something from them, from the simple recipe, how to make bread or how to put a meal together. All of those things are going to make some sort of situation that might be stressful and hard enough just a little bit better, because you've got some different techniques and you've got different supplies that you can use, different foods you can use, and all those different things. So this one I've had some, experience with myself, and it's brown sugar. And brown sugar is one of these, it doesn't necessarily go bad, but if you store it wrong, if you just leave it in the bag that it came in, I've had this happen to me a few times where just a little bit of air gets in there and it turns into a brown brick, and it's not necessarily bad. And you could, I suppose, use it. I mean, I've gotten in there and I've gotten my little meat tenderizer, and I've crunched the crap out of this stuff like one of the old Aztecs or whatever, crushing masa. That's what I have had to do before. It's really fine, and it's not the same thing, and it's just not the same thing. But if it's stored properly, brown sugar will last you a very long time. Let's see what they have to say on the website here. Brown sugar does not spoil easily, but it does get rock hard. Yeah, like I was just saying. Instead of storing brown sugar, store white sugar and molasses. Then you can create your own fresh brown sugar, combining 1 tablespoon of molasses with with 1 cup of white vinegar. Didn't know that either. That is actually a pretty good idea. I know white sugar, again, we don't eat a lot of sugar anymore. Try not to anyway, but it is one of those that it stores for so damn long. It's not super expensive. And it is something, if we do have to, like I was just talking about, create different types of meals, put meals together, recipes, things like that, you are going to need sugar. And in a situation, like that, some sort of SHTF disaster type situation, I'm not going to worry too much about how much sugar I'm eating. So, and I'll tell you what, sugar, salt, all those spices, things like that, they're going to add that little bit extra to something that, like those rolled oats with a little bit of sugar on them. Whole lot better than just plain old rolled oats. It's going to add that little bit of extra to all your different meals and all the different things you do. So Tiger said, or Brandon, I think you guys are talking about brown sugar. Stick in the bag with a hot dog or hamburger bun. It'll come back to life in a day. That's interesting. Yeah. And then Tiger said, very quick in the microwave or eat some, and it softens right up. Next time, I'm going to have to try those 2 tips, and I'm going to see how right you guys are, and see if that actually works for me, even if it's just a little bit, like right around the edges, because it's really hard to work with brown sugar when it is rock hard like that. Now, the bag that I have in the pantry right now, because I use it when I cook steaks and stuff like that, I use it for the seasoning and all of that. The bag I have in there, I have it double bagged basically, and I make sure it's super airtight before I even put it back in there. And it has lasted me, I gotta say, 6-8 months, something like that. And I've used about 2/3 of the bag so far. So it hasn't turned into a rock yet, but I may have to take some of that out, let it turn into a rock, and test those 2 theories. Sounds good though. All right, so brown sugar. The next one we've got right here, and this one probably pretty obvious to most of you seasoned preppers out there, but tomatoes, anything acidic basically in cans, I am very leery of, and I'd like to get your guys' thoughts out there. How do you judge that stuff? There are certain foods, like peaches and things like that the expiration date, green beans, not a huge factor to me. I will let it go past that expiration date. Tomatoes and acidic things like that, though, that is one of those things I'm just not real, I just a little bit leery about. Now, in an SHTF situation, and it's a month or 2 past the expiration date, I'm not worried about it at all. These days, tomatoes and green beans, watch them close, Tiger said. Okay. These days, I don't see the reason why I should chance something like that when they get old. And we do store like puree and things like that, because making my own tomato sauce, we do store quite a bit of those, but we make sure and rotate them through. And I think that's the important part that when people talk about storing long-term food storage, you hear on the articles all the time, it's like, hey, store a year's worth of food. You're good to go, this, that, years, whatever it is, 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever. That's just one part of the entire process, the entire problem, though. That's like going to the mechanic and him telling you, yeah, you just got to change the alternator. And you go, and you're like, okay, there you go. There is the inventory, there is the rotation, there is so many other things that go into it's how much you use it, so many different things that go into the food storage, that it's not just, hey, unless you get the long-term food storage like I sell over at the SHTF shop, shameless plug, then it is set it, forget it. But if you're doing food storage like this, there's a lot more that goes into it. We've had in the past, and not in our food storage, our prepper food storage, basically, not in that, but in cabinets in the pantry upstairs, cabinets that are really deep. And we didn't know there was certain things back there, certain food back there, a bag of, I don't know if it was a bag of chocolate, chocolate chips or what it was back there, but it was open. And we ended up getting flour. I can't remember what they're called. Flour beetles, just not an infestation or anything, but we ended up getting that. So we had to tear everything out of there and make sure and get rid of all those, clean everything up really good. That is sort of the danger of being a prepper, my whole point with this, and then I'll get back to these last few, but that is sort of the danger of being a prepper and having all this food storage and having, all of these things stored up and in different places, is you've got to make sure and maintain that. And you've got to make sure and check those things. You've got to make sure it's stored properly, out of the sun, the temperature, no huge temperature swings, things like that. Right. Those things can lead to huge problems and make you just say, you know what, enough of this stuff. I'm going to McDonald's. Enough of this food storage stuff. So there's a lot more to it than just, hey, get a year's worth of food and you're fine. Again, unless you go that freeze dried route, or I believe Brandon's got his own freeze dryer, does some of that stuff himself as well. But yeah. It's a lot more to it than just, grab a bunch of food, put it in your pantry and you're good to go, because we did sort of similar stuff to that when we first started. And 4 or 5 years later, you're tossing stuff out because it's just like, holy crap, we forgot all about this. We forgot all about that. I got stuff stuffed under the bed. I've got stuff in, the bottoms of closets. And that doesn't happen anymore because as I said in the beginning, I've been doing this long enough. I've learned from trial and error, learned from different things, what to do and what not to, and then what to sort of pay attention to before it gets to the point of it just being a complete disaster in your home. So a couple comments before I get on to the next one. Chris said, freeze-dried coffee will last a long time, stored properly. Have many glass jars and 1-cup packets. Yep, absolutely. Tiger said, or Mango said, Mongo. I keep calling you Mango, man. Sorry, Mongo. I have terrible luck with any tomato products I can after 6 months. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm the same way. With canned products I buy, I'm less hesitant than the ones I can myself, because I just don't know how that whole process, how successful that whole process was. And even if it was fine, and I'm confident in my skills and everything, but there's still that what if factor in your head. So yeah, it is one of those things. It's those high acidic things that the tomato products are pretty tough. Man, gagging myself over here. All right, the next one here, and this one is really important, and this is another one of those lessons learned, and I think a lot of people at one point or another sort of learn these. And on top of that, your diet changes, your food needs change, but eat what you store, or store what you eat and eat what you store, basically. And I was going to get, because I can't stand asparagus and Brussels sprouts, I was going to get a picture of that, but I figured this picture was just fine with it, because this is probably a situation a lot of people face, is kids just not liking certain things and will not eat certain things. Now, granted, if they haven't eaten in 12, 14 hours, 24 hours, the asparagus and stuff is probably going to taste pretty good. But always, store what you eat. And that, like I said, lesson learned for us, because you get stuff that's on sale and you think, hey, we'll put this, we'll incorporate into this in our diet. We'll make sure and eat these things. It's only 6-8 cans. We'll make sure and eat these things before they expire. And then you never do. And then all of a sudden you've got 6-8 cans, which are either put on the, what I do, I call it the pre-trash shelf. It's the stuff that is past the point where I really want to eat it, but not past the SHTF threshold, basically. Lisa calls it the food that if somebody comes knocking on the door, that's the food they're getting first. But I call it the pre-trash stuff, the stuff I'm not quite ready to throw away yet because it's probably fine, but it's past my willingness to use it at this point, because times are good. There's really no reason to do that stuff. So I do keep it. And then, in the next 6 months, when I go through things again, or 3 months, however long it is, I'll go through the stuff again and decide if it goes all the way to the trash, or maybe it's got, a little bit longer that it can stay there. But make sure you store what you eat what you store. In the article here, it says, this sounds like a no-brainer, and it is, yeah. But many people are seduced by sale prices. Yeah, exactly what I was just talking about on canned foods and packaged goods. Lisa more so than me, I will say that, because I'm a little bit cheap, and I think about the fact of this is just going to sit on our shelf, and I'm going to waste it, and I'm going to have to throw it away, and that's $2 I just spent. It doesn't matter if you got a rock bottom price and all these cans of spinach. If your family won't eat the cans of spinach on a regular basis, you probably won't eat it in an emergency either. And you've wasted your money and precious storage space. Now, that being said, I do agree with that, but in some sort of disaster, I don't know how, if you all have ever gone a whole day without eating and then you get to dinner time, or maybe you've gone 24 hours without eating. It really doesn't matter at that point what you're eating. It tastes good or good enough. Your stomach is just yelling at you to the point of, I don't care what it is, just put something in my belly. So, just a basement, but color. You guys are talking about something else, but Mongo, just a basement, but Colorado has a dry climate. Yeah, you must be in Colorado. I am as well. And that's where I store a lot of my stuff. I believe that's probably what you guys were talking about, is just in the basement. Don't store it in the garage. I know that goes without saying, but, here in Colorado, we've got such temperature swings that if I were to, and this sort of goes on to one I'm going to talk about in a minute, there's so many temperature swings out here. If I were to put canned foods or something out there, or stuff I can myself in jars, it would be a bloody mess come springtime. So anyway, store what you eat what you store. The next one I've got here, and I've only got a couple more left, is the boxed meals and things like this. And this is not on their list. I watched a video a while back from Magic Prepper, and it's something I really didn't think about. What is like the biscuit mixes, the cake mixes, the pancake mixes, all of those things can become actually dangerous after a little while because of the chemical reaction. I can't off the top of my head remember why it is, but just look in your search engine, why are baking mixes dangerous long term, or go to Magic Prepper's YouTube channel, and he's got a video on exactly why that is. But it's something we never really thought about, and we probably should have, because that pancake mix or the cake mixes or brownies, or we do a lot of, Lisa likes the muffin mixes, which is nice and easy. You just, throw some stuff together and put them in the oven. Those things sit in there for so long, and then, if they get pushed to the back of the pantry, the cabinet there, ours are pretty deep too. Ours are like 3 feet deep. So what I do in my pantry, I've talked about this before. I'll get back on this, but what I do in my pantry is I've got the number 10 cans of long-term food, and I put 3 or 4 of those cans in the back of each of my shelves. That way I can't stuff things back there. And it's also food storage as well. But these boxed, prepackaged, powdered, whatever they're called, mixes, baking mixes and stuff. We just usually set them there and don't even think about looking at the expiration date because they just last so long. You don't worry about it. But after a while, and I believe it's a long while. It's not like a month or two after their expiration date. It's a while after that. But they can go bad, and you can't really tell that it's really that bad. I would look into that because I maybe later I'll do an actual video on this whole thing, but Magic Prepper did a really good video and explained exactly why it is. It's not that it'll happen to every single baking mix that you have. It's the fact that it could, I think, is what the main thing is with that. So anything in the... Brandon said refried beans are awesome. They freeze dry well too. Yeah, I've got a packet from Legacy Food Storage. I'm sure Brandon probably does his own, but I've got a packet from Legacy Food Storage that I tried the other day, and I'm gonna start doing SHTF recipes basically, and I am gonna make SHTF burritos. I've got canned green chili. I'm gonna try to do it. What I plan on doing with these videos is do it in a way that I would have to in some sort of SHTF situation. So whether that's pulling out the Coleman grill, using propane to boil water and heat that stuff up, whether it's the outdoor grill to make sure I have the propane available, a cast iron skillet, maybe a Dutch oven, things like that. I've got my solar oven, so I'm going to start doing meals like that and do a series of SHTF cooking, SHTF recipes or whatever. So, but I am going to try those refried beans and do a whole Mexican dinner of basically made out of prepper food, and we're actually going to eat it too. So if the next day I got bubbly guts or something like that, I'll make sure and do a video and let you all know. I'm not going to do the video from the bathroom though. Well, I won't do that to you, but I'll let you know how everything went. Okay, so we got a couple more here. The last one is pretty interesting, and it's one I want to get all your guys' thoughts on as well. This one I think is pretty obvious. Never store canned foods that are dented. Sometimes, it really depends. It's not like every single can, and I hate to, this is at your own risk type stuff, right? I'm telling you what I do. You do what you want to do. And that goes for the expiration dates, how long you want to keep the food, when you want to throw it away, all that stuff. But canned foods that are dented can get damaged, and air can get in there. All sorts of things can happen. The rust on the can itself can contaminate the inside. So it's never a good idea to use or even buy. If you see a can that's dented at the grocery store, push that aside, grab something else that's a good can. But you should never use canned foods that are dented. Now, there have been times that I have in my, as I'm pulling stuff up from my storage up to bring it up to the pantry, I've dropped some stuff and put a dent in it. And it's like, you know what? I'm not throwing that away. I don't care. So there are instances. I'm not saying throw every single, if you dent it, you got to throw it away. I don't do that. Like I said, though, I am cheap. And I don't like wasting. I think it's the way I was raised. Single mom of 3 kids. You better eat what's on your plate because you don't know what's coming next. That's kind of, I do not like throwing food away. And it's just one of those things that just drives me nuts. And I think that was pounded into my brain growing up from my mom. But yeah, Mongo, stock up on toilet paper. Yeah, that's, not food, but I suppose... you connect the dots a little bit. It is. It's post food. You're going to have to, if you're going to be eating, you're going to be needing some toilet paper. So yeah, I suppose so. All right. The last one I've got on here, and this is an interesting one I want to get your guys' thoughts on. I completely understand why some people say this, but it's peanut butter. I've heard that peanut butter, don't store it for over a year. I'll tell you what, I've got peanut butter that has been in my pantry for probably year and a half. And sometimes I give it to the dogs because it's kind of like a cool little treat. Put it on some of their little chew toys and stuff, and put it inside their little Kongs, I guess is what they're called, and they'll lick that out of there. I've tried it, not a huge deal, but I know that if it's not stored properly, there's powdered peanut butter as well. It's just one of those things, probably not the smartest thing to, in my opinion anyway, probably not the smartest things to sort of just let go. Now, unsealed, I'm not really sure what the shelf life is. If anybody in the chat knows... if anybody in the chat knows about the whole peanut butter thing, I'm looking through there trying to read and talk at the same time. It's not the easiest thing to do. Emergency prepping, don't use cans that are bulging either. Yeah, sort of on the same thing I was just talking about. Yeah, bulging, dented cans like that. Yeah, it's not worth the risk, especially these days when you really don't have to. And as preppers, we try to, put things off as long as possible and extend things as much as possible. But these days, it's really not all that important to do. Yes, we want to build up our food supply, but we want to do it safely as well. Tony in the chat said, Alaskan Prepper has had peanut butter over 2 or 3 years, no problem. Yeah, see, and I've heard, I don't like the pop top cans. Yeah, Tiger said, yeah. Those, yeah, I agree with you. I have heard, back to Tony's comment, I've heard of people that have had peanut butter for a very long time. So it's one of those that, yeah, I get it. But at the same time, it's that part of me that just doesn't want to throw stuff away. Now, unsealed or sealed up, I imagine... and this is something I'm going to have to look into. I just thought about it right now, but sealed up, I imagine that it's quite a bit longer than that. Tiger says, I'll say again, I have peanut butter, years old, still good. Keep it cool and in a dark place. Yep. emergencyprepping.com said the problem with peanut butter is that it gets the plastic like stale taste after too long. That is true, actually. Yeah. I prefer powdered peanut butter for long-term food storage. Yeah, you can get that stuff, and peanut butter is fantastic. It's high in protein, really good stuff. You could, if you had peanut butter, it's not like eating sticks of butter where it'd be completely disgusting. But if you had peanut butter, you could just chow on peanut butter and be perfectly fine for a little while. Not the most healthy thing, I think, long term, but peanut butter has got all the good stuff that you need. But yeah. Peanut butter powder is a really good idea for your long-term food storage. One of those things that you don't have to worry about how often you use it. We've got quite a few of those things around the house where it's that 25-year shelf life, 15-year shelf life. If we don't use it and have to end up throwing it away, I suppose that's a good thing because that means nothing happened in that time frame to make us have to use that. So it's kind of like that insurance policy that needs to be renewed, I suppose. At any rate, that is, the list I've got right here. Like I said, there's so much nuance to all this stuff that it's not just like people read these articles and say, oh, don't store these foods. And then they get on these prepper websites and say, hey, I thought you weren't supposed to store flour, or I thought you weren't supposed to store peanut butter, or things like that. And there's just a lot more nuance to all of this stuff than this one way to do things. There are expiration dates. There are best by dates. Understand the difference between those two things. And sort of the more you do this stuff, like I said, through trial and error, you figure out how all of these different things work, what's going to work for you, what foods you're going to need more of, what foods you're going to need less of, that you didn't use as much as you thought you were going to, and all of those type things. So at any rate, if anybody's got any last comments, I'm going to get out of here in a minute. Last comments, last questions, or anything like that. Mongo said, I mix peanut butter powder with real peanut butter for a better taste. I'm just opining. Generally spoken, batshite crazy. Generally spoken, unopened crap would last longer. Yeah, makes complete sense. Yeah. So at any rate, I am going to get out of here. Like I said at the beginning, for those of you that weren't here, I am going to be doing an interview tomorrow with Adam from Defenders USA. Sorry, I had to pull up this website. He's got a YouTube channel, Defenders USA. Make sure and go to that channel, subscribe. A lot of really good videos about firearms training, self-defense. They do live videos over there as well. Some really cool videos. Got a lot of really cool guests as well. Adam is, I'll play this one right here just to show you who he is that you can expect tomorrow.
Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Wincher with Defenders USA. I got something to show you. This gun right here, this blue thing, this molded piece of plastic, it assassinated President Lincoln, right? It took down the Hindenburg. In fact, this thing dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This thing fought the Nam, right? And oh my goodness, it has killed millions of people. According to the comments that had come in on my YouTube channel recently, right? I did a demonstration releasing on one of our shorts, and it's gotten like, I don't know, close to 1 million views, where I was holding this blue gun. And people lost their freaking minds, right? Why? Because they saw this, and even on the screen it said it's a molded piece of plastic that's a training tool. They don't see that. Understand, this is a training and demonstration tool to be able to use in an environment for training and demonstration.
All right, so at any rate, very cool channel, very cool guy. It's going to be great to have him on tomorrow. They've got their website as well, Defenders USA, that goes through all the different things they do. I can't wait. It's going to be a great show tomorrow. And also, I've got my locals channel that I put together, and I've got the link down below. You can join the Survivalist Prepper Locals group, and I'm going to try to make that just a fantastic group and where we can all sort of interact interact, ask questions, give everybody tips and advice about how to prepare, do different things, talk about current events. It's really going to be open to, just a lot of different things. Being a supporter costs $2. And unfortunately, the way that I had to set it up, you have to be able to be a supporter to be able to comment and chat on the live videos and stuff like that. But I suppose that's a good thing because it keeps out the riffraff, right? So at any rate, make sure if you're on the locals thing or you want to check it out, go over there, make sure and check out the group over there. And then make sure and join us tomorrow night, me and Adam. It's going to be a great show. Like I said in the beginning, if you didn't hear that, if you jumped in late, if you have any comments that you want me to ask Adam or you have any topics that you want us to discuss, go over to that video. You can just go to my main page here at Survivalist Prepper. Click on that video that's already scheduled for tomorrow. Make sure and hit that bell icon too. You'll get notified. I'm also going to send out an email. And then just put a comment below that video about what you'd like us to talk about as far as how, firearms training and safety and all of those things and how they, how they coincide with prepping or some things about prepping that you're concerned about that you want us to cover. So at any rate, one last time in the comments, see if anybody said anything important. Mongo did. Great show. Thank you. Yeah. What time? Brandon said 4 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. So 6 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. That's what time we're going to be on. Should be a great show. Like I said, I had a chat with him today and just a great guy. All around nice guy, knows his stuff, good trainer. Really, go watch a few of his videos. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. They do their live streams. Check out some of their guests they've had on their live streams. Just some really fantastic guests. Definitely an up and comer. So, but at any rate, Pop Top Spam, how long does it last? See, I don't know. This is the last question I'll take and I'll get out of here. I don't know, because I think it was Tiger that mentioned that earlier, the Pop Top cans. I don't know, and I'll have to look into this, that they have a shorter expiration than the regular sealed cans, because I think it's the same thing. To what I think anyway, and again, I don't know if this is the case or not, I think that it's just... it's easier for those to pop open, I think, if something were to happen, because they're not sealed as strongly. I don't know. I could be just making some stuff up now. But I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Very good question, though, Maxie. Emergency Prepping, great show. Glad I found your content. Yeah, thank you. And if you're on YouTube, I don't know if you can leave a link here or not. Let me know, and I'll get a hold of you. But everyone, I appreciate y'all joining in tonight. This was supposed to be like a 15-minute video, and we've turned it into an hour now. So, but it's always fun when I get comments and stuff like that in the chat. But take care, everyone. Take care and prepare. Like I said, make sure and join tomorrow night when I have Adam on. And take care and prepare. We'll talk to y'all later.